welcome to the post-budget vote public participation. We're hoping that is going to be a fruitful engagement for all the students that are available here. Welcome to our senior management in the Department of International Relations and also other stakeholders. Our Deputy Minister, Landers, will also take us through the Triple P, and also he's available to be able to answer. He's with our Chief Operation Officer, Ambassador Nkosi, who obviously is vested with all the foreign policy issues that he is available at your disposal.
Well, thanks very much for honoring our invitation to be part of this ongoing conversation that the department has initiated with civil society and generally our people. We're happy to use the next hour and a half, hour 45 minutes to engage with you on a range of foreign policy topics. Deputy Minister Landers is here, and he will make a broad overview of our strategic priorities for 2017, following a successful presentation and adoption of our budget vote yesterday here in the National Assembly. The Deputy Minister will cover a range of topics related to the work that we're doing on the continent, the work we're doing in the global south, our relations with countries of the north, and of course our role in the multilateral system of global governance. As you are aware, this is the year of O.R. Tambo. It's a very special year, a year that we dedicate to the memory of one of the most prominent personalities who shaped the post-apartheid South Africa, and more specifically its foreign policy. So what we're going to present to you this morning is within the overall theme, the overall framework of the year of O.R. Tambo. It's also a year in which South Africa will assume major responsibilities in the region of SADC. We're going to take over the chairpersonship of SADC. We're also going to take over the chairpersonship of IORA, the Indian Ocean Rim Association. And of course, it's a year in which we're preparing to take over the chairpersonship of BRICS in 2018. So it's a very significant year for South Africa. You're also aware that this year is a year in which we celebrate the 60th anniversary of the independence of Ghana, the Golden Jubilee. Ghana was a pioneer post-colonial state in Africa south of the Sahara, which actually inspired many of the independence struggles. Indeed inspired the whole decolonization movement, not just in Africa, but also elsewhere in the world, particularly in Latin America and in Asia. And of course, it's also a significant year because we mark 50 years of the occupation of Palestine, of the Palestinian territories. So very significant anniversaries, and without any further ado, it is my pleasure to invite His Excellency, the Deputy Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Mr. Llewellyn Landers, who, as you are aware, has the specific executive delegation to manage our program in the Americas and Europe regions, but also in his capacity as the member of the executive responsible for international relations, will cover a scope wider than his executive delegation. Deputy Minister, we have here students from the University of the Western Cape, that is here in Cape Town. And in Gauteng, we have students from the Tshwane University of Technology, as well as the University of Johannesburg. So students from 4 different campuses, universities, who are anxiously awaiting your address. As you can see, their eyes are twinkling with high expectation. And of course, once you've finished your address, we'll give them the opportunity to engage. They are IR students, they are aspirant diplomats.
Program Director, student representatives, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to be afforded this opportunity. As you know, we presented our budget to the National Assembly yesterday, and in doing so, we focus on broadly 4 major themes, and these are: 1, bilateral and multilateral cooperation in Africa within the context of Pan-Africanism; bilateral North-South cooperation and trade relations; 3, international solidarity with people of Palestine, Western Sahara, and the government and people of Cuba; and lastly, transformation of the global governance system. Those were the themes that can be found in the 3 speeches presented by Minister Maite Nkoana Mashabane, Deputy Minister Noma India Mfeketo, and myself. These themes were anchored to the year of O.R. Tambo, as Ambassador has explained to you. And as you know, O.R. was an icon of the liberation struggle. He was an incredible man. The reason I say that is because he achieved all that he achieved in an era when, he will confirm this, it was almost impossible to have achieved those things. The apartheid era was an extremely difficult era. And I grant you that O.R. Tambo did all that he did whilst in exile overseas, going from country to country. But that's not to say that his task was simple and easy. It wasn't. It was extremely difficult. And I know that over time we will lose the essence of this. And so his mobilization of international solidarity against apartheid, we hope, is never forgotten. That's the little I'll say about him, although there'll be much more said during the course of this year. Budget vote also coincided with Africa Day, which is commemorated every year on the 25th of May. It serves to commemorate the establishment of the Organization of African Unity, which later became the African Union. And we chose to reflect on the incomplete agenda of decolonization on the continent, because this was a very important feature of both the OAU and now the African Union. We still have on the African continent a region or a country that is still colonized, and that is Western Sahara, which has not realized self-determination. This year, we also, as Ambassador commented on, the continent joins in the commemoration of Ghana's Golden Jubilee. In other words, 60 years of Ghana's independence. We note the fact that Ghana spearheaded the decolonization agenda on the continent. They were really at the forefront. It's important to note that our budget derives its mandate from the APEX priorities of the National Development Plan, or the NDP, which is our blueprint for the country's transformation and seeks to address the triple challenges of inequality, unemployment, and poverty. We pursue our foreign policy, which seeks to promote regional political and economic integration and stimulate Africa's development through sustained South-South solidarity and mutually beneficial relations with the North. We are also mindful that this can only be achieved within a representative and equal global system of governance. We also sought to highlight the challenging environment we are operating in now. And presently, the environment is characterized by a highly competitive and complex global environment, which is complicated by an incremental rise in right-wing, populist politics, and narrow chauvinist nationalism. And this has in the main been precipitated by the subdued economic due to slow global economic recovery since 2008. However, we remain convinced that we will achieve the development goals as set out in the NDP, in Agenda 2063, and in the Sustainable Development Goals globally. As far as Africa is concerned, we reaffirm the centrality that Africa, the continent, the centrality of our foreign policy to the continent, forgive me. Ambassador has already commented on the pending leadership role we will play as the incoming SADC chair for the year 2017-2018. And the theme for that year will be partnering with the private sector in developing industry and regional value chains. This will assist us in harnessing the participation and involvement of the regional private sector in the implementation of SADC's regional industrialization strategy and roadmap. We place a strong emphasis on industrialization in SADC. We also reflected in our speeches yesterday on our achievements and challenges in building peace and stability, consolidating democracy, and post-conflict reconstruction and development efforts on the continent over the past decade. This includes, amongst others, Burundi, Democratic Republic of Congo, Rwanda, Sudan, Libya, Madagascar, and Lesotho. We recognize that peace and stability on our continent is a sine qua non if we are to realize our developmental goals. We are committed to continue working closely with the AU organs in addressing the pockets of instability and insecurity that still prevail. We highlighted the trade benefits derived from the continent, particularly the southern region, as well as the progress that has been attained comparatively from 1994 until now. We also welcome the progress achieved under the leadership of Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma as the AU chair. Her leadership emphasized the importance of continued pursuit of the shared vision of Agenda 2063. Importantly, we also noted that the AU heads of state and assembly have declared 2017 as the year of, and I quote, harnessing the demographic dividend through investment in the youth, close quotes. This provides a unique opportunity for the continent to leverage the youth bulge to propel its socio-economic development and address the challenges of poverty and unemployment faced by our young people today. On South-South cooperation and solidarity, we highlighted our upcoming leadership roles, namely as incoming chairs of the Indian Ocean Rim Association, or IORA, and Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa partnership, better known as BRICS. On IORA, we will assume the chairship in October this year. We highlighted the importance of IORA through the oceans economy, or as some people call it, the blue economy, as a strategic focus area for South Africa, IORA, and the African Union. Our focus will be on implementing the outcomes of the recently held first IORA Leaders Summit that President Zuma attended in Jakarta, Indonesia in March 2017, and particularly the Jakarta Accord and the IORA Action Plan of Implementation. Other areas of focus include promoting innovation, research and development, and a deepened and broadened interaction with the dialogue partners and regional organizations. We will also take over the chairship of BRICS in 2018. Our key focus in this regard will be on deepening cooperation and finding alternative markets and resources through this body. With regard to North-South cooperation, our relations with the countries of the global North remain paramount to our foreign policy as they remain a strategic dialogue partner. Moreover, they continue to be our largest trading partners and biggest investor into our economy. Our relations with the East do not in any way negate this strong partnership. However, as I highlighted earlier on, if we are intent on growing our economy, we need to build new relations and utilize strategic alliances in order to harness notable derivatives to aid in the transformation of our economy. Europe remains our biggest trading partner as a bloc, whilst the United States is our biggest trading country. Consequently, we will continue to strengthen our relations with the new administration in the USA. We also noted the current migration challenges in Europe, its root causes and effects, as well as our concern that the push and pull factors are not being adequately addressed. Equally, we elaborated on the unintended consequences of the current humanitarian crisis that it has given birth to. On international solidarity, particularly Cuba, we reaffirmed South Africa and Cuba's long-standing relations dating back to the struggle against colonialism, imperialism, and apartheid. We reaffirmed our call for the immediate and complete lifting of the U.S. economic blockade against Cuba. We reconfirmed our gratitude to Cuba, who have, under the most difficult circumstances, continued to provide support to us and the rest of Africa. We thanked Cuba for ensuring that since May 2012, over 3,000 South African students have received medical training in Cuba, and 520 South Africans have already graduated over the past years and are now providing critical health care services to our poor and rural communities. In addition, about 800 students will be returning to South Africa in 2018 to finalize their last year of study in South Africa. On Palestine, we reaffirmed our solidarity and commitment to the Palestinian cause. We recognize that this year is the 50th year of the occupation of Palestinian territories. It is 70 years since the creation of the Israeli state and 100 years since the signing of the Balfour Declaration by the British, which laid the foundation for the creation of the State of Israel and the occupation of Palestine. We reflected on O.R. Tambo's speech on developments in that region during the Afro-Arab Solidarity Conference in Rwanda in 1981 when he said, and I quote, "The enemy also seeks to liquidate the Palestinian people and their sole and authentic representative, the Palestinian Liberation Organization. Conference has the responsibility to ensure that in future when the people of Palestine are under attack, those of South Africa do not stand idly by," close quotes. We noted the demands of the families of Palestinian prisoners who have requested that the 24 hours they spend at checkpoints before they see their family members be significantly reduced, that the right to education in Israeli prisons be upheld, and lastly, that basic human dignity be restored for visitors who are currently not provided with basic services such as toilet facilities. In this context, we continue to reaffirm our solidarity with the people of Palestine and call upon the international community to find a lasting resolution to this long-standing conflict. On Western Sahara, we committed to continue to advocate for freedom and justice in support of the people of Western Sahara. This position is founded on our own experiences of struggle against colonialism and subjugation. We acknowledge that it was through international support and solidarity that we in South Africa could manage to free ourselves from the bondage of apartheid and colonialism. We renewed our commitment to continue to render support to and lobby for the Sahrawi cause on all multilateral platforms such as SADC, the African Union, the UN, the G77 plus China, BRICS, and the non-aligned movements, amongst others that we participate in. We reiterated the urgent need for renewed efforts to facilitate an early resolution of the issue and called on the UN General Assembly to determine a date for the holding of the self-determination referendum for the people of Western Sahara. We committed to continue to mobilize the international community to call for the acceleration of the referendum on self-determination. Equally, we urged the UN Security Council to fully assume its responsibility in restoring the full functionality of the UN mission for referendum in Western Sahara. Its acronym is MINURSO. This MINURSO is vital for managing the ceasefire and organizing the referendum in Western Sahara, as well as addressing issues of human rights violations. We committed to continue to assist and share our experiences in peaceful settlement of conflict because any further delay in finding a lasting solution has consequences for peace and security on our continent. Despite this challenge, we believe that the readmission of Morocco to the AU presents opportunities for all of us to work within the AU collective to resolve the Western Sahara issue. We also commended the countries that have recently implemented the EU court decision to ensure that Morocco does not continue benefiting from Sahrawi resources. We also commended our own authorities for detaining a Moroccan ship en route to New Zealand in Port Elizabeth, which contained illegally sourced phosphate sourced from the Western Sahara territories. This case will be heard in June this year. On global governance, we committed to continue to actively participate in the multilateral state, to agitate for the reform of the current archaic and unfair global governance architecture, structures, and institutions, such as the UN Security Council and the Bretton Woods institutions. We acknowledge the plight of the people of African descent who continue to suffer from the multiple forms of discrimination. We acknowledge that the United Nations General Assembly proclaimed 2015 to 2024 the International Decade on People of African Descent under the theme Recognition, Justice, and Development. We reflected on our continued role to lead UN efforts aimed at the promotion and protection of human rights of people of African descent at the 34th session of the Human Rights Council, where a resolution calling on UNGA to establish a forum on people of African descent was adopted. We committed to lobby the G77 plus China group to ensure that this forum will be established at UNGA later this year. We reflected on our leadership role in South Africa in combating all scourges of racism. This included leading the process of the Human Rights Council during its 34th session early this year in adopting resolutions, renewing the mandate of the Special Rapporteur on contemporary forms of racism, racial discrimination, xenophobia, and related intolerances, the Intergovernmental Working Group on the effective implementation of the Durban Declaration and Programme of Action, and the elaboration of complementary standards to the International Convention on the Elimination of all forms of racial discrimination.